There's something about a woman's gaze that speaks louder than her words ever could. Most men are conditioned to look for signals in the obvious, in how she dresses, how she moves, how she talks, but what often slips through their fingers is the way she looks at you. And I don't mean just glancing your way across the room. I mean that soft, charged, magnetic moment when her eyes find yours and they stay just a second longer than necessary. That moment is heavy. It carries 1,000 confessions that her lips are too proud or too scared to speak. You see, women rarely offer their desire on a silver platter, not because they don't feel it, but because they feel so much, so deeply, that they fear the ruin it might bring. But the eyes betray the heart. They always do. A woman can mask her feelings with her smile, her words, her posture, but her gaze? That's where her truth escapes. When she wants you not just to talk to or laugh with, but to touch, to feel, to devour, her eyes will tell you before she even knows it herself. And yet, men miss it. They miss how her pupils dilate ever so slightly when you speak, how her gaze softens not from politeness, but from a secret kind of hunger. They miss how she looks at you when you're not looking, when your guard is down and you're lost in thought. That's when she studies your hands, your mouth, the way you breathe. That's when she's wondering what it would feel like to be closer to you, too close. It's in the glance that drifts down to your lips when you're talking, in the flicker of hesitation before she looks away as if caught stealing something sacred. She doesn't want to be obvious, no, but she doesn't want to be invisible either, so she lingers. Long enough for you to notice, but not long enough for you to be sure. And that's the dance. The real tragedy? Most men are blind to it. They're so busy waiting for a woman to say the words, to make the move, to prove her interest, that they overlook the most honest signals of all. A man may hold 1,000 conversations with a woman and yet completely miss the one her eyes have been begging him to hear. She may sit across from him at dinner, lips moving, laughter flowing, but her eyes? They're telling a different story. They're undressing the moment. They're asking if he feels it too. The heat under the surface, the way the air thickens between them. But he's laughing, distracted, glancing at his phone or talking about work, and she smiles, swallowing her silence like a bitter pill. Men think lust is loud, but for women it's often quiet. It slips into the room like perfume, felt before it's seen, and if a man isn't paying attention, it disappears before he ever realizes it was there. A woman doesn't need to touch you to seduce you. She doesn't need to speak in riddles or play games. Sometimes all it takes is the way her eyes follow you when you walk away, the way they hold you when you talk about something that matters to you, the way they lower when the conversation gets too intimate, then rise again, slowly, deliberately, as if searching for permission to feel what she's already feeling. That's not a woman being friendly. That's not boredom. That's not politeness. That's desire, pure, aching, careful desire. But most men never see it. They're waiting for the firework, the explosion, the bold declaration. What they don't realize is that the most intense fires burn quietly. And a woman's lust, when it's real, when it's raw, doesn't scream. It simmers. In her gaze, in the pause between words, in the breath she takes when she looks at you like you're a secret she's dying to unfold. So the next time you're sitting across from her and the room falls away, pay attention. Don't just hear her, see her. Not just her face, not just her smile. Look into her eyes and ask yourself, is she holding back? Or is she hoping I finally understand? Because in that moment, in that gaze, she's not just looking at you. She's inviting you. There's a certain kind of restlessness that takes over a woman's body when desire begins to stir beneath the surface. It's not loud, not theatrical. It's subtle, almost innocent. And that's exactly why men miss it. They don't realize that lust doesn't always walk in wearing red lipstick and high heels. Sometimes it enters the room quietly in the form of a nervous laugh, a hand that can't stay still, or legs that keep shifting beneath the table as if her skin suddenly doesn't feel like her own. She touches her necklace, then her wrist, then tucks a strand of hair behind her ear that doesn't even need fixing. Her fingers dance across anything she can find, her glass, her phone, the corner of a napkin. She's not bored. She's not distracted. She's trying to keep her body from revealing everything her words are too careful to say. That's how women are. We feel first, then fight to compose ourselves. Desire is dangerous. It threatens the rules we've built for ourselves. It shatters composure. So when a woman feels it, she doesn't always dive in head first like men imagine. No, she tries to manage it, to regulate it, to disguise the storm with delicate little movements that look innocent to the untrained eye, but scream for attention to the man who knows how to see. Her breath changes too. It becomes slightly quicker, a little shallower, like her body is trying to keep up with something her heart hasn't quite admitted. She crosses her legs, then uncrosses them. Not to be polite. Not because she's uncomfortable, but because her body can't sit still anymore in the presence of the man who's igniting something inside her. And most men don't notice it. They think fidgeting means she's bored or unsure or maybe just being polite. But that slight shift in her seat, that way she leans forward for a second longer than needed, or how she touches her own collarbone absent-mindedly as she listens, those are signs. Her body is aching for movement because her desire has nowhere else to go. It needs to be something, do something, and so it leaks out through these gentle, uncontrolled gestures. She's trying to seem normal, that's the thing. She doesn't want you to know she's thinking about kissing you, or touching you, or imagining what your skin would feel like under her palms, so she channels all that intensity into small, repetitive motions. It's her mind's way of surviving the chaos. Her fingers speak because her mouth can't. Her knees shift because her lips won't. And this energy, this beautiful, unbearable energy, builds slowly. She may even laugh more than usual, sometimes a little too loudly or a little too quickly. But if you pay attention, you'll hear the hesitation underneath, that breath she takes before the sound escapes, that almost sigh in between her words. She's not laughing because something is funny. She's laughing because everything inside her is tense, full, blooming. And laughter is a release when she can't afford to cry or confess or act on what she's truly feeling. Even her silence is telling. There will be a moment where she stops talking, not because she has nothing to say, but because everything she wants to say would change everything. She looks away, bites her lip, touches the rim of her glass like it's your skin. You think it's just a quiet moment. You think she's lost in thought. But the truth is, she's right there with you, more present than ever. The desire is sitting right behind her ribs, pulsing, growing heavier, and she's trying to hold herself together with broken pieces of composure. If you could read her then, if you could sit with her in that storm, you'd understand something most men never will. Lust, when it lives inside a woman, is not loud, it's trembling, it's electric. It's an ache that makes her body forget how to be still. So when you see her fidget, when you see her playing with her rings or shifting in her seat or smoothing down her skirt for the third time, don't dismiss it. Don't chalk it up to nerves or habit. Watch her closer. Feel the tension in the air. Understand that her body is fighting a battle between control and surrender. And she's hoping you'll be the one who notices. Because in that quiet storm of movement, she's already reaching for you. There's a moment when a woman's voice changes, and most men don't hear it, not really. They're listening to what she says, but they miss how she says it. And yet, that change, that soft shift in her tone, it's where the truth slips out. You see, when a woman begins to feel that slow, magnetic pull of desire, her voice betrays her long before she intends it to. It dips just slightly, grows warmer around her, quieter. She starts speaking less from her mind and more from her body. It's not something she plans. It's not part of some performance. It just happens. Her words stretch out, slower, smoother, as if each syllable wants to be felt instead of just heard. Her laugh, once loud and bright, becomes more breathy, restrained, a little lower in her throat. It's as if she's no longer trying to entertain you but enchant you, drawing you in, pulling you closer without ever moving an inch. Most men don't notice it. They hear her saying things like, "You're funny," or "That's interesting," and take the words at face value. But what they should be paying attention to is the tone hidden beneath. Is there a softness there that wasn't there before? Is there a kind of secret smile in her voice? Has the rhythm changed, even just a little? These are not coincidences. These are not just random shifts. These are signs, delicate, beautiful signs, that she's no longer talking to you as just another person in the room. She's talking to you and only you in a way that reaches beneath the surface. A woman in lust speaks differently because she's feeling differently. Her voice lowers because her body is relaxing, opening, surrendering, whether she admits it or not. She may ask you a simple question like, "So what do you do?" But the real question is in the way she leans into the word you. The real invitation is in how she draws it out, how her tone seems to brush against you. There's a softness, a depth, a certain weight to her voice that only shows up when she's genuinely captivated by your presence. And it's not always obvious. She's not trying to seduce you with her voice, not intentionally at least. It's more like her voice is seducing itself, caught up in the moment, betraying her own excitement. She might pause more between her sentences, like she's giving space for something unsaid. She may let silence linger just a little longer than necessary, not because she's lost for words, but because she's hoping you'll feel what she's not saying. There's a tenderness in that, a vulnerability, because for women, voice is deeply connected to emotion. When we care, when we crave, when we desire, our voice carries it. It becomes an extension of the things we're not ready to admit out loud. You may not understand the change at first, but your body does. You'll find yourself leaning in without even realizing it, listening more closely, feeling more drawn to her. That's no accident. That's her voice doing exactly what she doesn't even know it's doing. And it's not just what she says to you, it's how she responds to you. Her laughter becomes softer, more intimate. Her replies are less sharp, less calculated. Her voice becomes a place for you to rest, a whisper of curiosity, a hum of permission. You won't hear lust in loud declarations or flirtatious cliches. You'll hear it in the slight drop of her tone when she says your name. The way her hi sounds different when you walk in the room. The way her good night sounds like it's asking you to stay. But you have to be present. You have to really listen, not to the facts, not to the topic, but to the texture of her voice. Is there warmth there? Is there hesitation? Is there an edge of breathlessness, like she's a little too aware of how close you are? That's where lust lives. Not in the content of the conversation, but in the undercurrent, in the melody beneath the words. When a woman wants you, her voice forgets how to be neutral. It bends, it softens, it wraps around your name like it belongs to her. And if you're paying attention, you'll feel it, not just in your ears, but in your chest, your spine, your blood. Because when her voice begins to lower and slow, when it lingers a little longer in the air between you, it's no longer just conversation. It's foreplay in disguise. There's a kind of touch that doesn't ask for permission and doesn't beg for attention. It just happens, quietly, softly, like a whisper pressed into the skin. And men, so often waiting for a woman to throw herself into their arms, miss these moments entirely. They don't realize that sometimes the most powerful confession of desire isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's a brush of her fingers against your hand, or the way her knee gently leans into yours and doesn't quite pull away. She might act like it was accidental. She might even pretend she didn't notice, but she did. She always notices. Because that small touch, that was deliberate, calculated, daring in its softness. You see, when a woman wants you, truly wants you, she will find a way to bridge the space between you, and often that bridge is her body reaching out, just enough to feel your presence, just enough to remember what it's like, to not be alone in that moment with everything she's feeling. She may graze your shoulder as she walks by, or rest her hand lightly on your arm when she's laughing. Maybe her fingers linger on your back just a little too long as you guide her through a doorway. It's subtle, so subtle that if you're not paying attention, you'll convince yourself it meant nothing, but to her, it meant everything. Because in that fleeting touch, she crossed a line she's been towing for days, and she's hoping you'll feel it. That's what makes it beautiful, the restraint behind the boldness. Women aren't taught to act on desire in the same way men are. We're taught to suppress it, to be careful, to never be the first to show too much. But desire doesn't follow rules, so when it swells inside her, she lets it slip through the cracks. In touches she can pretend were accidental if you don't respond the way she hopes. Her touch is her risk, a gentle risk, one that says, I want you, but I'm afraid to say it out loud. So she lets her body speak for her. She lets her fingertips carry the message her lips are too scared to voice. And when you don't notice, or worse, when you notice and do nothing, a part of her closes, quietly, like a door you didn't realize was open. Because she wasn't just touching your arm. She was testing the water. She was asking, do you feel this too? Do you want me to? Will you come closer if I show you it's safe to? That's why these small touches carry so much weight. They are filled with questions, with confessions, with carefully contained fire. When a woman finds herself lost in her desire for you, she begins to search for excuses to be close. She leans in when she talks. She touches your wrist when you hand her something. She laughs and rests her hand on your thigh for just a heartbeat too long. Her body is begging to be noticed, to be welcomed, to be understood without her needing to explain herself. It's not about lust in the way you might think. It's not about sex alone. It's about the craving for closeness, for physical acknowledgement, for the safety of being desired back. It's about skin that suddenly feels too aware of itself, about a heart that starts to race just from the thought of brushing against yours. That's what makes her touch so intimate, even if it's brief. That's what makes it so telling. And it's not just what she touches, it's how she touches. If it feels hesitant, like she's ready to pull back at any moment, it means she's not sure if you're open to her. But if it lingers, if it grows in confidence, then you've just been given something rare, her unspoken permission to come closer. Yet so often, men laugh it off. They shift away without thinking. They assume it was friendly, casual, meaningless. And in doing so, they miss the entire moment. They miss the tenderness, the vulnerability, the incredible courage it took for her to cross that invisible line. Because even the smallest touch, when it comes from a woman's desire, is never small. It's the beginning of something. It's her trying to say, I want to feel you without losing myself. I want you to feel me without needing words. So if you ever feel her hand graze yours and she doesn't pull away right away, don't brush it off. Because that 1 second of contact might just be her way of asking you to come a little closer to the truth she's been hiding in her skin. There's something deeply misunderstood about stillness in women. Most men are drawn to movement, to action, to signals that flash and wave and call out, notice me. But what if I told you that one of the clearest signs of a woman's desire, true, aching, soul-deep desire, is when she becomes still. Stillness, when it lives in a woman, isn't the absence of emotion. It's the container of it. It's the place where everything she's feeling gets locked in tight, held just beneath the surface of her skin because the moment feels too sacred to move through too quickly. When a woman lusts for a man, when she feels that kind of slow-burning pull, sometimes her entire body stops. Her voice softens, her breath steadies, and her movements become deliberate or disappear altogether. You'll notice it when she sits a little too close and doesn't adjust. When she turns her full body toward you and doesn't look away, not even when the silence stretches between words. You'll notice it in the way her eyes lock onto yours and hold, not with urgency, but with gravity, as though something unspoken is anchoring her there. That's not hesitation. That's not passivity. That's presence. That's her body saying, I am here with you completely, without needing to say anything at all. Stillness like that is rare. It's powerful, and it's not accidental. It's not that she doesn't want to move, it's that she can't, because her heart is busy memorizing you. Her mind is wrapped around the sound of your voice. Her body is humming quietly in your orbit, and in that moment, motion would only disrupt the feeling. She's still because everything inside her is not. Everything inside her is racing, on fire, pulsing with energy that she's trying to keep contained. She's still because the moment has weight, and if she moved, she might break it. And here's what most men don't understand. Women don't give that kind of stillness to just anyone. They don't offer their full attention, their anchored presence, unless something inside them is already leaning in, already reaching out, already imagining what it would feel like to go further. That stillness, that quiet, that pause in the air between you, that's desire. Dressed in patience, that's lust wearing a velvet glove. Men are often looking for signs that are loud, performative, or dramatic. They want obvious flirtation, suggestive words, or bold gestures. But they miss the way she goes completely silent when you speak about something that matters. They miss the way she doesn't fidget, doesn't interrupt, doesn't check her phone, because all of her is tuned into you. That's not boredom, that's not her zoning out. It's the sound of her soul listening. Stillness is a form of surrender, but it's not weak. In fact, it's one of the most powerful things a woman can offer. It means she trusts you enough to pause in your presence. It means she's not just trying to impress you, she's letting herself feel you. There is nothing more vulnerable than that, nothing more intimate than a woman who sits in silence right beside you and lets the air fill with tension so heavy it feels like thunder just waiting for a place to strike. And she may never say it. She may never admit what that stillness meant. She might laugh it off, change the subject, get up and move the moment the space between you feels too charged. But that doesn't make it any less real. That moment was everything. That moment was her choosing to stay in it instead of running away. Sometimes the most seductive thing a woman can do is nothing at all. No movement, no words, just her presence, unwavering, unafraid, fully in tune with yours. That kind of stillness doesn't come from nowhere. It's born from craving, from interest that has taken root in her body so deeply that it demands pause. It demands quiet, because there's too much at stake to rush. So the next time you're with her and she grows quiet, when the conversation slows and her body becomes calm and still, don't misread it. Don't assume she's lost interest. Don't look away. Because in that sacred silence, in that delicate stillness, she might just be letting you feel everything she hasn't yet found the words to say. There's a certain kind of smile a woman gives when she's drawn to someone, not because she's trying to be polite or friendly, but because something inside her is unraveling, blooming quietly in the warmth of that connection. And the thing is, it's never just the smile itself that gives it away. It's the way she smiles. It's how it starts slowly, softly, from somewhere deep and spreads across her face like sunlight easing over a frozen morning. It's how it lingers long after the joke has faded, long after the words have passed, like her body isn't quite ready to let go of the moment. You might think it's nothing. You might believe she's just being kind. But if you knew how rarely a woman smiles like that, you'd realize how much truth is buried inside it. When a woman feels desire, not just attraction, but that intoxicating, soul-aching kind of lust, it shows up in her smile, but not in the way most people expect. It's not loud, it's not obvious, it's not the flirty, exaggerated grin you've been taught to look for. It's quieter, deeper, more vulnerable. It's the smile that curves just slightly as she looks at you when you're not looking at her. It's the way her lips part just a little, like she's caught between saying something and keeping a secret. It's the way her eyes soften at the same time, and suddenly her whole face becomes an open window to something tender, unspoken, and raw. That smile, that's not about humor. It's about hunger, emotional hunger, physical hunger, a need that's still deciding if it's safe to show itself. She doesn't smile like that for everyone. In fact, she rarely even realizes she's doing it, because lust in women doesn't always march into the room wearing perfume and confidence. It tiptoes in, quietly settling behind her eyes, beneath her breath, and yes, in the corners of her smile. A woman doesn't flash this kind of smile to be seductive. She smiles like that when something inside her has already been seduced. It often happens in still moments. Maybe you're telling a story and her eyes are fixed on you, but her mind is somewhere else, somewhere between the sound of your voice and the shape of your hands. And then she smiles. Not because you said something funny, not because she feels obligated, but because you, just you being you, have stirred something in her she hasn't felt in a long time. And when you see it, really see it, You'll know. Because that smile feels different. It hits differently. It doesn't just catch your attention, it holds it. It leaves you wondering what she's thinking, wondering if she knows what that moment looks like from the outside. She does, and she doesn't, because women live in two places at once when they feel desire. The world outside, where they try to stay composed, and the world inside, where everything is wild, messy, and full of longing. That smile is the bridge between those two worlds. It's also one of the most easily missed signs of all, because most men aren't taught to look for it. They are taught to chase after the obvious, the touch, the laugh, the words. But her smile, that smile that fades slower than it arrived, that's the one that holds her truth. It's the one that slips out when she watches you walk ahead and thinks you'll never notice. It's the one that comes after she says goodbye but turns back for one last look. It's the one she gives you when you say something unexpectedly thoughtful and she feels her guard drop for just a moment too long. And sometimes, when her desire is too much to contain, it's the smile she tries to hide, the one she bites down on, turns away from, looks down to escape, because smiling at you feels like saying too much. It feels like undressing her thoughts in public. And still, she can't help it. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's not part of a game or a performance. It's instinctual, it's emotional, it's the most beautiful kind of confession, one that needs no words, no permission, no explanation. So the next time a woman smiles at you in that soft, lingering way, the one that wraps around your name, the one that lights up her eyes just for you, don't brush it off. Don't call it sweet and move on. Sit with it. Let it echo. Because sometimes a woman's deepest desire doesn't speak. It simply smiles and hopes you'll feel what she's too afraid to say.